Jump back to the summer of 1996. I was a 14-year-old lad and going to see Twister at the old famous 8 here in good old Montreal, an old suburban movie theater that, for the first time ever, was showing a film in THX. I'll never forget sitting down with a friend and a couple buckets of popcorn to watch Jan de Bont's classic and being rocked to the core by the amazing VFX and sound, and it remains a favorite of mine. Twister, of course, had a rock-solid cast of characters, all of whom were memorable, plus 2 perfect regular Joe heroes in Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, with the movie, believe it or not, actually a disaster movie quasi-remake of the classic screwball comedy His Girl Friday with the genders reversed. It shouldn't have worked as well as it did, but boy oh boy did I love watching it, and the movie was a runaway smash hit grossing just shy of $500 million worldwide, in 1996 dollars, mind you. It was so popular that it actually kicked off a mini-disaster movie revival with movies like Dante's Peak, Volcano, Deep Impact, and Armageddon all following in its wake. Now, 28 years later, Twister is finally getting a sequel, the imaginatively titled Twisters, which, to its credit, has some terrific talent involved, including 2 of the most promising rising stars of the moment, Glen Powell and Daisy Edgar-Jones. Plus, it has a unique choice in director with Minari's Lee Isaac Chung. But can it possibly live up to the original? Yes and no. While Twisters lacks the human touch and characterizations that made the original such an endurable classic, the film does benefit from a few key things. For one, this isn't really a legacy sequel. Those have been hit and miss in the past, and Twisters only has modest connections to the original film. You can walk into this having never heard of the first movie and not feel like you were missing anything. While that approach may strike some as disrespectful to the legacy of the original, Lee Isaac Chung, working from a screenplay by Mark L. Smith and based on a story by Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski, is trying to do his own thing, and it works relatively well. The reason, of course, is the cast, with Daisy Edgar-Jones and Glen Powell 2 terrific leads to hang this on. Edgar-Jones, who I also really loved in a cool little horror flick called Fresh, plays Kate. She's a former storm chaser that's reeling from a tragedy that cost the lives of her old crew, with only Anthony Ramos's Javi left over. He approaches her years later to help him deploy a revolutionary new tracking system, which puts her immediately at odds with Powell's Tyler Owens. Unlike Javi's science-minded crew, Owens is a YouTube personality who, along with his colorful gang, seems like a total cowboy, much to Kate's initial chagrin. To the movie's credit, there's a more formulaic version of the movie that could have been made with Powell's Tyler an antagonist, but instead, the movie makes him a hero. While brash, Tyler's got a heart of gold, and by contrast, it's Ramos's Javi, who may initially be the shadier one, with him hooked up with a stuck-up storm chaser played by future Superman David Corenswet, who is clearly up to no good. The original film pushed the envelope as far as VFX went, and Chung tries many times to top it using multiple twisters and even a tornado on fire. Alas, the film lacks any of the truly memorable imagery the first film sported, such as that famous flying cow shot or the drive-in theater screen playing The Shining coming apart in a tornado. Bigger is not always better. Yet Chung does have time to show off some of the grace notes that made Minari such a treat. He truly appreciates down-home Americana, and the film stops for a memorable rodeo sequence, and the small towns devastated by the titular twisters have a ring of truth about them. However, the film also suffers from one thing that's been bugging me about modern films: the complete avoidance of any kind of physical affection between the leads. The movie largely centers around the deepening relationship between Tyler and Kate. Yet despite the chemistry between the two of them, and it's potent, there's little to no opportunity for sparks to fly on screen. It's as if someone along the way decided that any hint of romance is reductive, which really left a sour taste in my mouth because, you know what, the movie was begging for it. Despite this, Twister still works pretty well as a good piece of summer entertainment. The pace is lively, and besides Jones, Powell, and Ramos, some of the supporting cast members are fun, such as Sasha Lane as one of Tyler's cronies, and Downton Abbey's Harry Haddon Patton as an easily frightened but not cowardly journalist following Tyler's crew. But at the end of the day, the movie is made by the legit movie star appeal of Powell, who seems to be making a bid to be the next Tom Cruise, with him playing the same kind of brash, heroic, upbeat heroes his former Top Gun Maverick co-star rose to fame as. Twisters isn't the instant classic the original was, but I have to say, pretty good time at the movies, and I give it a 7 out of 10.